We are
So,
live.
thanks, Mez, for fucking every piece of shit up there. Appreciate it. And if the video doesn't enter the group chat at some point after tonight, then I'll be very disappointed. So anyway, we're going to get back into the game tonight. I like before we got cut off by Mez. I thought we were in a position where, like you were saying, Gilly, earlier on, it was like they closed down our out ball, and a lot of our first ball from the keeper went to the centre backs. Whereas when we brought Dan James on, I thought maybe we could just go a bit long rather than like, because there was a couple of times there after he came on, and he literally, as soon as Melier got the ball, you could see he was gone. So why not just give it long? This is like, we have a player like that now that we need to utilize.
I think they were trying to do that though, weren't they? And I think I think so. I mean, I would resharing all of the links, because every time you ended a broadcast and create a new one, all of the links are restarted again. Jay's just asking what's going on.
Well, Jay, you could blame Mez for that.
So I was just getting all that out. So sorry, I'll just come back to your question. I'm assuming you were talking, Dan James?
Yes, I was.
You were saying we got out. So it felt to me, actually,
to give you a bit of context, what I was saying, obviously you were retweeting whatever, but just to give you a bit of context, I felt like when you were saying earlier on, before Mez fucked us off, you were saying that like our out ball was, we didn't have Ailing and we didn't have Firpo as the out ball. It was always going centre. But when James came on, then we had that, right, Melier's got it, just fucking launch it forward, like, and just let him run at them. But we didn't seem to do that. And
I think. Did you think that some of that was Melier second guessing himself, knowing that we're down to 10, not wanting to release the ball unless he knows he's got a sure pass on?
I think just do it anyway. You've put a player like Dan James on, you know what you're getting.
I agree, but I don't want to be too harshly critical on him, knowing that if he gets that ball wrong, it's just going to come straight back to us. So do we want to hold on to it for a little bit rather than playing attack and defend against a decent side? I think that out ball, Jackie, he's really often, because he's got such a fantastic touch, he's usually our out ball. Oh, fucking hell, here we go. Don't you fucking end the recording now. Fuck me. I'm gonna have to change out passwords.
Yeah. Seriously, like,
I've come to join you for just 2 minutes, all right? Because I'm walking back on my own with a can, as you do, and get fucked, you horrible bastards. I'm not gonna listen. I'm not gonna say all controversial. Just let me talk, you cunts.
We haven't said a fucking word.
Yeah, but I can hear background. Listen, right. I'm good. I didn't expect a right lot from the game. I thought we'd get arseholed, and I think that in the circumstances we did all right, but there's just not enough fight for me. The thing is, I just want more. I just want more from us, And
we all want that, Jay.
It's just, I don't know. There's something that's not clicked so far this season, and we have got the capability to be a good side. We have got players that are capable of being good players, but the way it's gone so far, it's not been good. And for me, there's a worry about the way we've gone and the form we've had, and it's seeping into the players psychologically, and then being in a certain place when we go into games, like there's not that confidence, like we can do what we want to this team. Rather, shit, we need to be careful here. We didn't have that last season. but we've got it now, and I think that's a big difference. I'm sorry for jumping in the stream uninvited, but my mates have left me. I'm walking back to Leeds on my own, so I'm gonna fucking bother someone, and it's you two, lucky cunts.
Jay did.
Right, well, we're trying to avoid C-bombs, so I've taken him out of the recording. I can't delete him because he's an admin just as I am. So I'm not actually going to delete him, but we try and avoid C-bombs as best we can. And I am slightly scared that he's also going to end the broadcast. We've had one already. So I back to the conversation that was at hand before we were so rudely interrupted.
Yeah,
Harrison is a brilliant outball for us because of his fantastic first touch, and we didn't get to take advantage of that at all today.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of that was formation? How much of that was us just not being at the races? It's difficult to ascertain, I think. But we're in a scenario where we went up against a side that they are experienced and they are a good team, and we went into it. I don't know. To look at the other wing, do you think Rafinha this week was impacted by all of the shit that's been going on?
I think it has to have a knock-on effect on him. Like it was going to be his first Brazil cap, and I can understand him being frustrated by it. But there's not a lot you can do with it either. You either go and you quarantine for the period of the couple of internationals that you're going to be doing, or you either just don't do it at all. And you can kind of see it in the way he played today a little bit. And I think when they got that third goal, and he just slumped to the ground, you kind of see that was the last straw for him. You know what I mean?
It's really poor body language, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was sat. Yeah. I think it's because it was kind of on his hands behind him, and then with his knees up, and just like you say, slumped there, and that's really poor body language. I pointed out at half time. I pointed out in our group chat. One of the things that really frustrated me in the first half was Firpo would let a ball just dribble out without even trying to chase it down, and he'd have got there with 10 seconds to spare. Now there were a player between him and the ball, but he would have made him play it. That's what kids hear. How often do you hear that at kids football? Make him play it. You chase it down, and whenever there's an opportunity to try and win the ball, that's what you do. You don't just let it go. And I think we were in a scenario there where we had a player that happened in the build up to their first goal, I think it was, and then just before half time, what you had was Rafinha sprint 60 yards for a ball that was always running dead. That was just in a scenario where if you could just give some of that mentality from Rafinha to Firpo, I think he'd be a much more important player to us. And I think that's a difficult thing, because at the moment it doesn't feel like Firpo's a player that we need.
Yeah. I actually, I was just going to come to that point that you were making about Firpo there. I turned to the lads that I go with on for every home game and away games, whatever, but I turned to one of them and go, obviously Firpo needs the time to get into the league, and everyone needs that, getting used to it process, but it kind of made me feel like we should have maybe given Alioski the contract that he maybe wanted. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not slagging off Firpo. I'm not. It takes players time to get into the way the league's played and stuff like that, but maybe having Alioski there as someone that Firpo can see where you need that energy, where you need that, going forward, or where you need to sit. I'm not saying Alioski was the best player we've ever had at left back while Bielsa's been there, but he was the most consistent. And I think
I've got to disagree with that, because I think he was a good player for us, and I think consistency was actually his problem. You look at his performance against Man City, and it was about as good as you can expect. But you look at the 2-3 previous games to that, and he just wasn't at the races. It wasn't at that same level. And I think for me, if you could get Man City Alioski week in, week out, we'd still have him, and he would have got a better contract. I don't think that's the position that we were in. We weren't getting that Man City Alioski every week. Obviously, just I'm talking about not that he was at Man City or anything like that. Just when we played against her with 10 men. So it was one of those where we were in a position where we had a player there that I would have liked to have stayed in the squad, but I still don't feel like he would get in front of Firpo. I really don't.
I'm not saying that he would get in ahead of Firpo. What I mean by maybe having him around the place is that Firpo can understand the need to do what needs to be done. And if like, because we've no one that's going to challenge Firpo now for left back. We've no one.
Yeah.
We don't. And for
it's Dallas, isn't it?
Well, it is Dallas. Like, that's the thing. It's going to be Dallas, and he's not even a left back. But to have Alioski there, and like, even though Alioski's not a left back, he was a fucking number 10 at left back, and I think that's the most bizarre thing ever. But to have
but to be fair, he should never have won 10, should he?
No, he should never have won 10. Like,
shouldn't have had 10.
Maybe 7 or something like that, but never a
even
10.
No, I think he should have been wearing, I don't know, 16 or something. You know, was he ever first choice?
He was very much first choice, I think, when Bielsa came in. Like,
in a winger spot.
No,
in at 10, in at 7, in at 11.
Starting 11. I think he was.
Yes, but it was a utility man, though, wasn't he? Or a utensil man, if you ask Smarty. It wasn't. I don't feel like he ever nailed down a place. And actually, the closest he became to nailing down a place was at left back. So he should have had 3 on. He shouldn't have had 10 on. 10, 11, 7. He shouldn't have had. We might have signed him as a winger, but he never felt like the right player to have that sort of number on.
Yeah, it never did. Like, but at the end of the day, where they're going to play and the number they have, it's not really relevant anyway. Like, but I just feel just having someone like Alioski who knew how Bielsa expected someone to play in that position, like you're always going to get better when you've got competition because you're always trying to up your game. He hasn't got anyone to compete against except Dallas, and he's not even a fucking left back.
Yeah, and we need another 2 Dallases in order to be able to actually be in a position where he can do that. And do you know what? I would love that. I would love another 2 Dallases, and I think at least 2, if not all 3 of them, would play every week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd take 3 Dallases playing in random positions every week, like, But at the moment now, we don't have anyone that challenges Firpo, and I would never come on and slag the guy off or anything like that because we've just said that it takes a while for a player to get into a new league and stuff like that. And, it does take time. And maybe after Christmas, he might be in a position where he's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing now. And he does the Alioski job.
And let's be honest, we're in a position where he's playing up against one of the best wingers in the league. I don't think he's one of the best wingers in the world, but he's one of the best wingers in the league. And I think, given that, it was always going to be a tough day for him. The diving and the cheating, but at the same time, the quickness of movement and how good he is with his feet. You put all of that together into one player, and that means any defender is going to have his hands full for the day. So I don't want to be too harsh on him, but at the same time, I did feel like he was just completely off the pace, and I think a lot of it. Smarty's actually made a comment. I felt the general play was quite slow and laboured, not enough urgency with the short passing. I do agree with that, and I think that it felt like Phillips was on his own in the midfield today, and I think he played really well. I think he did everything that he did really well to a high standard. But he can't do it on his own, and I think that because it felt like he was in there on his own. When the fullbacks had the ball, it was then difficult for them to progress because what they would do is they would play into Click, they would play into Phillips, and they would move and they would get the ball back, and we just didn't have that. It almost felt like we were being stifled at fullback and on the wings, that meant we were forced through the centre, which is not our game. We don't play through the centre like that. So Calvin saw a lot of the ball and did well with it, but they were not in front of him either. And I think that's where I'm saying, I don't know if it was formation. I don't know if they were just quicker to the ball, quicker to the man. But it felt like they stifled us today, and they were on top in that regard.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. But I'll also look at the way, like you were saying, we didn't use the wings enough. But like you said, Calvin played very well today, considering we were through the middle a lot. But if he's getting the ball quite regularly in the middle, then he generally is our wing out ball.
Yeah.
So if we're concentrating all our play down the centre, then the wingers need to make them runs as well. So for Calvin to play the way he normally plays for us, the wingers need to be gone. They need to be fucking just gone. As soon as he gets the ball, you're gone. And you don't stand there, you don't look at it, and you don't wonder whether it's coming or not. If Calvin gets that ball and he's playing the way that we know he can play and he does play, then the wingers, as wingers, you're fucking gone. And if you're not gone, then where we break down after Calvin plays that ball, whether it be long or whether it be out the wing to Ayling or whether it be out the Furpo or whatever, that's dead. If you're not gone as a winger, that's dead.
Yeah, so, if you're on your heels, then all of the plays in front of the team that's trying to defend, making it very easy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought when we brought Dan James on, I know we touched on Meslier not releasing the ball quicker, or either he was using the two centre-backs when they were there or whatever. But if Meslier gets that ball and you bring on a player like Dan James, that ball needs to be gone. As soon as you get that in your fucking
That's
hand,
what he's for?
Yeah, that's what he's for. You get that ball as far forward into his running path as humanly possible. If you don't, then that's us push back straight away. All Liverpool have to do is just press on us, and they've already cut out four passes from Meslier. They've already done it. And the fact that we're not, I know it's his first game or whatever, but the fact that we didn't utilise that even at 2-0, if we get a goal, their arses are falling out,
especially what we did with City last season.
Yeah. Regardless of how they're playing, we get one goal at 2-1, their arse falls out and we have them on the back foot, regardless of whether we've got 10 men or not. And the world saw what we did against Man City last season with 10 men.
Yeah.
And you if we got that one goal, their arse doesn't sit comfortably at all.
Definitely game on at that point.
We have them on the back foot, regardless of how they're playing or the scoreline. That's it. It's as simple as that. But we didn't utilise that. And what you were saying about Calvin being in the middle and receiving a lot of the ball was absolutely spot on. But once he got it, there was no options. There was nothing like that. And it's frustrating considering the players that we have in those positions.
Well, I don't think... Were you on the main pod with us at the weekend?
No.
I don't know. Sorry, not the weekend. It is the weekend, through the week. Well, I spoke then about... Because we were talking about our potential lineups, and I think Mez were looking for Phillips to pick up Elliott. And I said, I think it'll be Dallas. So for the first half an hour, it was Dallas, and I think Phillips picked him up for about 10 minutes after that point. I don't know if Dallas tracked him, but it wasn't on him. He was giving him 3 or 4 yards. I don't know if he was worried about his pace. He's pretty quick, is Elliott. So I don't know if he was worried about his pace, but that was kind of if you're going to man mark him, get on his toes. Make sure he knows you're there constantly. One of the best man markers I've ever seen play football was Berardi, and he never gave his marker. He never gave him a moment's peace. He was on him constantly. Yeah. He was he was at his ankles. He was in his back, and he was nipping in front of him, taking the ball off his toes, and that's what you need if you're going to man mark a player. Because I think one of the things that we were missing, and one of the reasons that we didn't have that out ball, is because Dallas was so focused on tracking his man, and needed to be, because that was clearly the job he was given.
Yeah.
He was so focused on tracking his man that effectively left us a man down. Because while ever they've got the ball, they're looking for Elliott. Elliott's moving. He's pulling Dallas around and so on. He's having a positive impact from a Liverpool attacking perspective.
Yeah.
From a Leeds attacking perspective, while ever Dallas is tracking Elliott, we don't have that. And I think that was the biggest detrimental factor. I think we needed to have a game plan for Elliott because he has had a positive impact on their season so far. He's been playing well. It is a shame for the lad. I'm sure we'll come on to that. But I think that hurt us. Managing the game and managing him in that manner hurt us more than the benefits we saw from it, if that makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree with that. But at the same time, then I'll kind of look at it go, why should we focus on one player?
Yeah.
There's 11 of them. We shouldn't just focus on what one player is going to do. Like, I thought Elliott played all right up until the unfortunate event where Struijk made a great tackle and it just came about that he broke his leg. Not a red card, in my opinion. We'll get on to that in a minute. But
kind of covered it already there, mate, but okay.
There's a little bit more in-depth talk about it, like, you know, but I think, like you were saying there, to focus on one player and what they're going to do can be detrimental to the other 10 players that you have on the pitch. And
I think it was today. I really do, and I think that he has been a positive influence on their season so far, as I said. But I think the Leeds structure in defence, it's not. When I say that. I don't mean that it's brittle or anything like that. I just think that it's rigid because everybody knows where they want to be and everybody knows where they should be. And actually, we changed that today to be more fluid in order to deal with a player that's given a free role because that is in effect the way that they've deployed him is go and do whatever it is that you need to do. And I think that's a massive thing to be. That's a big responsibility actually for such a young player. Actually, I quite like that they're doing that in as much as they've seen a capability in a player and are taking advantage of it. And I think that we needed a game plan. I don't think that we picked the right one. And I tend not to criticise Bielsa too much because he's forgotten more than I'll ever know. But it felt like that might be where the game could have been won and lost was how we handle that attacking intent. And obviously, it wasn't won. So,
well,
there you go.
I think Elliott had a great season with Blackburn last year. Absolutely fantastic season. And then he showed why he's starting for Liverpool now. But he played in the Championship last year. We were in the Premier League. So for us to kind of go out there and look at him as the player we need to man mark when they've got Mane, they've got Salah, they've got anyway. So you know,
I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, the previous season we'd been in the Championship and then we came up and ran right against some sides. So
we did, yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying that. Like what my point was that we don't have to necessarily mark a player that's not an established player. There's more foul play in that ironing board than Struijk's tackle today. Yeah, it is. It is. I just don't have the quality of a green screen like Gilly has. I'm very sorry. Brian, I'll sort it out next time.
I don't know what order you want to do things. So I've got some of the player scores from the BBC website in front of me. We can go through that or we can talk about the incident first. Up to you.
What did Struijk get on the BBC scores? Just out
4.14.
Well, that's a lot of bollocks.
Well, I think because he was subbed on and then sent off, I think you always see your subs. So Robert's got a 4.5. I think you always see your subs getting low scores because I think you've got the potential to score. Theoretically, you've got the potential to score 10 as a player, but the less time you spend on the pitch, the lower that score becomes. I don't think that's representative of just the time he spent on the pitch. It's also representative of the fact that he wasn't on it for the entire game.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I just I don't think it was a sending off. I think we should appeal the red card, personally.
Well, so I've had a couple of conversations about this already, and Sky Sports News just before we came on, I was watching Sky Sports News. I've heard Bielsa, I've heard Van Dijk, and I've heard Klopp, and obviously I've heard the Sky Sports loving as well, and you know it's almost like a wake at the moment given what's happened and the way that they like to overstate things so that they can get headlines and what have you. But I think for me, the really telling thing was that the first Liverpool player to the ball or to the scene post challenge went for the ball. Didn't run in waving his arms, going, "Oh my God, that's so terrible! Look at the state of what's happened. How could you have done that?"
Yeah.
Struijk got up having won the ball, because he did,
Yeah.
and then won the ball again against a player that came in and put a challenge on him. The ref played on.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. No, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. The ref played on, and yeah, I genuinely think that this is one of those scenarios where, hands up, don't get me wrong, it's terrible when a player, especially a player right that's just started having a big impact, that's broken into the team, that's right at the start of his career. It's terrible for them to have a bad injury. I'd never wish that on a young player like that. Nothing that I'm saying here undermines the result, because the result of a player being stretchered off and having to go to hospital, all that stuff, that's no good. We don't want to see that.
Yeah.
There's always a potential for that to happen whenever you lace up your boots.
Yeah.
I think for me, what you need to look at is not the result, but the actual way that you got there. And the way that we got there was an unfortunate tangle, looked like studs caught in the turf, and underneath Struijk, who is a big lad. He's a big boy, Struijk. He's not going to be light. All of that on studs caught in the turf. That there's no malice in the tackle, and there's just weight, unfortunately, landing on a young man there. So I think from that perspective, when we look at it that way, Bielsa's come out and said that in actual fact there was no intent to go in at the player at all. He said that we're in a scenario where the player has won the ball, and I'll be interested in the in off the VAR take on this, because we're in a scenario where you've got a referee that's looking at a circumstance here, but what that circumstance is, the players are upset that their teammate has been injured. You've got a guy on the floor there. It looked like he was getting oxygen, needing quite significant treatment. But you've got Klopp on the pitch immediately into the ref's ear. You've got a ref that didn't give any sort of decision at all against Struijk, where you've got somebody that's gone in, they've won the ball. The ball's popped out of the challenge. He's got up. He's won it again against another Liverpool player who's not stopped playing. And I think when you play all of that into one single scenario, what you've got is a very unfortunate scenario where somebody's got injured. But what you've also got is a contact sport. You cannot take contact out of football and still retain it as the sport that we love. You just can't do it. It's not possible for that to happen, and for us to still have the sport that we've all fallen in love with. It's not possible for that to happen. So when you're in that scenario, yes, it's really unfortunate that happens, but that happens. I never played at a good level. Certainly nothing anywhere remotely close to looking like I could play professionally. But still, I played football, and I bust my ACL and haven't played football again. They're going to get the best treatments, but I didn't have any ill will against anybody that was in the game. It's just one of those things where players get injured playing football, and you can't get away from it. It's always going to happen. And I think what we've ended up with is a referee that's given a decision based on the outcome and not based on the tackle, and that's just wrong. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, Carl. You seem to have disappeared again.
No, that's absolutely sound, Gilly.
There
Man.
we go.
I 100% agree with what you were saying there. But like it just brings into like, because the ref sent him off on a VAR decision.
But did he go look at VAR? Because I couldn't see that from where I was. I never noticed him looking at VAR.
It looked like he went off to look at it, like, because how are you going to come to that decision if you've already let that tackle go, and then the same player make a fair challenge on the next Liverpool player, and then the only reason you stop the game is because of Salah saying his fucking leg is hanging off?
Yeah.
So he's not made a decision on the initial incident.
Yes. He's played on from that. Not even give a foul for that, let alone a red card.
A foul, like, so the only way he's sending him off is if he's looking at VAR, and it's like, you can't send him off for that when he's won the ball, then he's gone on and won the ball again, but someone has brought your attention to it, which rightly so. Not going to say anything against Salah saying his leg's fucking falling off. You need to sort
absolutely
it out.
Yeah. He needed attention, and he needed attention quickly.
And Salah brought it to the attention of the ref. But the ref played on up until that point. So
I don't know if this is... You never know what the TV screens show, but Bren, I believe, watched it in the pub today, and he just said there the ref was pressured, but he'd already allowed the player to go on. Never went to a screen to review it. We should appeal the decision, in my opinion. So, we don't know if it was just the TV screens, because they wouldn't have been focusing on Elliott. So it's the TV screens may have not picked, the cameras may not have picked up on the ref going. But I was in the stadium and didn't see him looking.
No, well,
that doesn't mean it didn't happen. But we were all looking, and there was a lot going on at that point in time. And that's one of the frustrations for me is managers entering the field of play shouldn't happen either. And Klopp's, he didn't leave him alone. He followed him around for over a minute, just chelping in his ear. I agree.
Send Klopp off. Sorry, like the initial challenge isn't a red card or a free kick. So what's your fucking issue then, Klopp?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I mentioned just now. I mentioned that I'd heard Van Dijk and Klopp and Bielsa all speaking. So I've already shared Bielsa's word. Klopp was specifically asked. It was mentioned to him. You were on the field. You approached the referee and you had a conversation with him. What did you say? And he kind of put his head down and hid behind his hat, looked left, looked right, looked left, and said nothing important. That's what I said. I said, was it nothing of important, or nothing of significance, or something along those lines? And it was just very non-committal. Absolutely, just would not say what was being said between him and the referee on the pitch. But in that sort of scenario, the referee needs to be stronger, because it's just allowed him to follow him around and just chelp in his ear, and it's wrong. It shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, I don't think if a scenario like that happens ever again, where obviously the injury is serious enough to stop the game and get a player seen to, if the referee plays on after the initial foul but the player is badly injured, you don't stop the game to then send a player off for a challenge that you've already classed as a good challenge, just because the player's leg is broken. I'm not like you can't do it. Like, it doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense within the rules of the game to then go back and go, well, initially I thought it was a great challenge, but now I've realized his leg is broken. You're off. It's like, no.
Yeah.
The initial decision should be what you go with. You either go, it's an unfortunate series of events, can't send you off because you won the ball, but then for him to totally 360 it and go, you know what, fuck you broke his leg, you're being sent off. He's literally sent Stuart off for breaking his leg. He's not sent him off for anything else.
And that's actually, that for me, no, it's wrong. No, we're going to say that's the worst thing about it. It's not. The worst thing about it is the unfortunate injury that's occurred.
Of course.
But in terms of the circumstance rather than the outcomes, for me, the most frustrating thing there, or the worst thing that from our perspective, aside from that injury, unfortunately that occurred, is the potential mental impact that will have on another young man, because Struijk is a young man that has now effectively been told by a referee, regardless of anything else, this was your fault, because otherwise he wouldn't have sent him off. And the potential impact that can have on a developing player, that doesn't have the experience of another 10 years in the game under his belt, where, having seen things that happen and things that occur in just unfortunate circumstance, it's just, we're in a scenario where you've now got a player that has been told, regardless of anything else, this was your fault. And therefore, you've been sent off, you're going to be banned, it's a straight red card. And you can sit for a couple of weeks now and stew on this, because this was your fault. That's the message that the referee sends by sending him off.
Yeah,
and that for me is appalling.
Yeah, and I'd like you were saying earlier, it'd be interesting to see what Jimmy has to say on that in off the VAR during the week. And like, I thought the ref was very, very poor today, and
he was.
I'm not just saying it from a fan's perspective or whatever. I thought he was very, very poor. The ref was indecisive the whole game. The tail wagged the dog. You're right.
Yeah, just a comment there from Marston World in the comments from you from Twitter. That one actually.
It did wag the tail. Like when you look at it, when we cleared the ball out just in the build up towards their second goal, it's a blatant handball. It's a blatant handball. If that free kick is given, they don't go up and score the second goal.
Yeah.
It's a blatant handball. There's no two ways about it. Like, he stuck his hand out and stopped it.
So there was an offside check for the second goal as well.
I don't understand that one, because it was a corner and he was well onside anyway. I don't understand.
Well, I don't understand that one. But there wasn't an offside check for the first one, and it was offside. I saw it just before we came on. It was offside. There were two of them offside, in fact. So I think the offside check with the second one, was it Fabinho that scored that one? It is because there was a man right in front of Melia that was affecting play and was in an offside position. So I think that's what the offside check was. So it came back into somewhere between 10, 12 yards out, and then bobbled towards goal. And when it bobbled towards goal, there was a player right directly in front of Melia, and he was the last man.
See, I didn't see it that way, because we had Rafinha on the front post, kind of guarding all that. I didn't see where the offside came from in that goal.
No, I think he tried stepping out to close the ball down, so
right,
there was nobody on the post at that point. But that aside, there wasn't an offside check as far as I could tell. It didn't come up on the screen and tell us that there was an offside check like for the second goal, and it was offside. So handball in the build up to the second, offside for the first. We're not doing so well already, and that's without the absolute horror show of a decision for the red card anyway.
Yeah.
Go on.
I don't like to sit here and blame referees, and like, we know from talking to Jimmy last year and in off the VAR that, like, we ask questions and scenarios where we ask Jimmy from a fan's perspective, and he gives us a professional referee's perspective and outcome on that. And I think the handball for the second goal, and I think the sending off, I'd be very much interested to see what Jimmy has to say about that, because from a fan's perspective, that's never a red card. If he's already let the play go and he's only stopped play because Salah has brought it to his attention, in my opinion, Jimmy might say different, that's not even a booking.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not a foul.
It's not a foul, so how can it be a booking or a sending off? Yeah. It just baffles my head. Like, I genuinely just don't understand how referees can look at a game and the way it's playing out, and then not even give a free kick for that challenge. So in his eyes, he knew straight off the bat, it's a good challenge.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's broke his leg inadvertently,
there was another element as well, and I'd like Jimmy's input on this as well, is the Salah dive. So I think it was Firpo just on the corner. It wasn't the corner of the box. It was the edge of the box, kind of in line with the penalty spot. You could see that Salah was itching for him to leave his leg out, and he was waiting and waiting and waiting. His leg came out, and he just threw himself over it and then screamed for a penalty. And the decision wasn't given. Well, he might have been screaming for a foul. I'm not sure if it was just inside or just outside the box, but he was screaming for a foul. The foul wasn't given. How is that not a booking?
Exactly.
He's dived.
Exactly. He's simulated.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, if you're not giving a foul, if you don't think it's a foul, he's cheating.
Yeah.
there's no two ways about it. If he's gone over and then gone, oh my God, that was a foul. That's the worst thing that's ever been done to me, as he does. And then the referee's not giving that foul as a decision. Then you're in a scenario where, okay, then get your yellow card out and book him. I hate to see frivolous bookings, but we've been told that a dive should be booked. And I hate diving more than I hate frivolous bookings, so get him booked.
Like, the one thing you won't hear on Match of the Day tonight is about simulation. Strictly because of what happened to poor Elliot.
Yeah.
You won't hear about the simulation from Salah. Mane had 2 or 3
ones there
today. Yeah, but this thing, like Mane had 2 or 3 today where he could have easily been booked for diving. Easily. Yeah. 2 or 3.
And
but we're not going to hear about that. All we're going to hear is about the Elliot leg break, and that's it.
Yeah, and do you know what? To be fair, there were a couple where, and certainly Llorente and Firpo deserved their bookings. I thought Cooper's was a little harsh, but they pulled their men back. So Llorente's was a perfect booking, because if that's your player, you're going, yeah, you take that. Absolutely. You hate it if it's against your player. You're like, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Send him to jail. Send him off. Deport him. but we're in a scenario where if it's your player that's doing it, you think, yeah, that's just clever play. It's awful to see because you've been done, but you pull your man down so that they don't score.
Yeah.
So,
but I like you said, man. I don't have any objection to those cards. I don't, because they're professional fouls as they're described by pundits.
Well, I think a professional foul is a red card, isn't it?
No, not necessarily a red card. Professional foul can be anywhere in the middle of the park where you take a guy out like he's looked like he's going forward. It's not necessarily a red because of the area it's in the pitch. It's still a professional foul.
Right.
This is the thing. Like a professional foul doesn't get a sending off, in my opinion, unless it's around the 18-yard box or whether they're last man. Like if someone fouls someone on the edge of the center circle in our half, that's a professional foul, because unless you take that booking, then they're going on. They're going to score.
Yeah.
Like. So you take the booking. That's a professional foul. Like, professional foul doesn't mean that you're good at it and you do it all the fucking time. Like, you know what I mean? Professional foul is when you know that you're only going to get a yellow.
Yeah, and the intent was there to bring your man down.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a professional foul. But what happened with the fouls that Firpo and Llorente got, they weren't professional fouls because they were quite key in the build-up to where the play was. Yeah. So, Llorente took your man down. He was quite close to goal, but there was other players around him where it couldn't be classed as a professional foul.
Yeah, it wasn't a denying of a goal-scoring opportunity, was it?
Yeah. That's the way it kind of works out with a professional foul. Like, but I think overall, I personally feel we should have been at least 1 or 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, before they scored.
When we had all that domination before they scored, I thought we should have been. But again, just not clinical enough. Rodrigo had the goal.
It was very similar to the opportunities he had at Crewe that he also ballooned.
Just all
I don't know if he's seeing somebody in South Stand, and he catches the catches eye and then puts him off or whatever, because he's had 4 or 5 guilty chances in front of South Stand this season, and he's ballooned them all. So anyway, so we'll come on to the individuals if you want, but we can just have a quick word from our partner.
A partner, yeah.
Well, to know better, excited to announce a new partnership. 3 Retro is the retro football shop. 3 Retro was born from the love of the game, from historical nights on the Cold Terrace, and from the love of vintage shirts of a bygone era. Find the referral link and discount code in our social media accounts and in the comments and descriptions of How to Know Better podcast recordings for a 10% discount on the full range.
Yeah. Buy
At some point, we're going to have to stop
Three
calling
Retro.
that a new partnership, aren't we?
Well, they're just a partnership now. They're as regular as the number 4 bus that goes past my house now, so it's all right. Like,
So I've got the ratings in front of me. So if you want, I'll tell you the name. We can have a quick chat, and then
Yeah.
I'll tell you the score that they got from the BBC.
all right, I like this.
Before we get into that, though, who was your Leeds man of the match? Tough ask today to ask that.
See, I'd like to say Calvin because he's the guilty choice, like, because he's just absolutely unbelievable. But it's a lot tougher than I would personally say Patrick Bamford, just from a Leeds perspective, because of how he dropped off, and he did put in a lot of effort when, you know, Stewart got sent off. He was doing a lot more running, and we did start to sit a lot deeper when Stewart got sent off, and Patrick was the first line of defence there. I know it's a cliche thing where it's like the striker is always the first line of defence, but he was in our own half, and he was still the first line of defence. You know what I mean? And
agreed.
Just for his pure effort, I'd have put Patrick now, to be fair. Like,
so we'll come on to them, but those two were the top rated. The two that you named were the top rated, but I'm not going to tell you which way around until we get there.
All right.
So, but we'll start at the bottom. So the lowest rated player, unsurprisingly, as we talked about the fact that when you're a sub on the BBC ratings, you don't get as high a rating anyway, is Strike with a 4.14. Thoughts?
I just think that's very unfair considering what happened. Like, it wasn't a red card, so why you can't give him like a 4 point whatever because he got sent off.
He's far from the only one, by the way. He's the lowest rating, but there are a few with 4s. Bear in mind, so 3 of them are the subs because they get lower rated anyway because they were subs.
Yeah, I still don't think he should have got that, because given that the referee had to consult someone to send him off, then no, why would you give someone something like that? I don't think that's a fair reflection on his performance.
The sending off aside, then, what was your view of his performance before being sent off? Then,
thought it was fairly solid before he got sent off. I thought he'd done a lot.
He did all right.
Yeah, he covered the ground he was meant to cover, and he definitely put in a few good tackles on people before it went pear-shaped on him. And I like, if he'd stayed on the pitch, I would have given him definitely a 7.5 to 8, like, because his performance up until that point was meriting that kind of rating, in my opinion.
In actual fact, what I saw him do 2 or 3 times is carry the ball out of the defence in a way that Llorente hadn't. And I actually think Llorente is potentially our best defender for doing that. And we didn't really see that from him today. And Strike was doing that. I thought he played quite well.
I think Llorente and Struik is our centre-back pairing. I'm not here to bash Cooper like Jay and Smarty.
We'll come on to him in a minute. But okay. So the next one's Roberts.
Right. I'd imagine he probably got about 4.7 or something then, did he?
4.5. Yeah. Remaining quite low.
Played quite well when he came on, I'm not going to lie. It was,
he's
he's energetic.
He is energetic. He's a busy player. I think a lot of them were wasteful today. He looks after the ball quite well when he's got it under control. His passing leaves some to be desired. It strikes me as slightly odd, though. You look at the way that the media treat Dan James, and fans as well, not just the media, treat Dan James, who's this up-and-coming bright star at 23, and then Roberts, who's completely washed up, past his best, will never achieve the heights that he ought to at 22. And I think that's an interesting narrative as well.
Yeah, it is, to be fair, like, because he, like, you can see certain things that he does. He has the touch, he has the awareness to pick a pass, and like I personally think if he trained solid as a number 10. You can slate me for this now all you want. I don't care. It's, an open forum and all that correct. But I think him as a number 10, but not as a traditional number 10, where a traditional number 10 will have the freedom to roam around that middle third and stuff like that, But I think Roberts has the ability to be a number 10 that will break up play. And then once he gets on the ball, he can then find that pass. But I think he needs to consistently play in that position for him to get better at it. And I think he has that ability in him.
I do as well. I think what he really needs to do is this sounds daft, especially given the accusations I levelled against Firpo earlier on. I think what Roberts really needs to do is understand that he's being picked by a coach that rates him. His coach thinks he's there on merit, because if he wasn't there on merit, Bielsa wouldn't pick him. So in Bielsa's eyes, he merits the opportunities, and therefore stop trying everything. So it's one of those where actually he's trying too hard to impress, rather than just playing the game. And I think that's to his detriment. So anyway, we'll be on here forever if we don't move up a little bit. So Cooper is actually the player who was on the pitch for the longest time with the lowest score, from a Leeds perspective, but I presume from a Liverpool perspective as well.
I'm not going to slay Cooper. Good. Look, I'm going to give him the grace that he deserves. He's done an absolutely fantastic job for us in the years that he's been with us, but I think he's reached his peak in as far as that he came up against quality attacking opposition today. And there was a few scenarios where he very much came out second best. And it's like I said, I'm not slating him. He's like against teams in the bottom half of the table. Absolutely sound. He's well capable, but he's not the centre back we need when it comes to challenging. I won't say the top six, because they're all fannies anyway, and they don't, they just wanted to destroy English football, so they're all assholes anyway. But I feel that our strongest centre back pairing against those teams is Struijk and Llorente. They both have the ability to bring the ball out, but they also have the ability to cover each other at the back without us feeling like we're stretched. And that's,
I get that. I still think it's Cooper and Llorente. Although, what I always said was by the end of the season, I don't think that would be the case. But I think right now it probably is.
I think it's just experience more so that's keeping Struijk out of the side, rather than.
And he'll get that over time. But I genuinely think that hopefully what's occurred, and do you know what, if it gets rescinded, that would be a massive message to him. So fingers crossed. There's some sense in there, but for me, I think we're in a position where he could potentially be the best of the four. I don't think he is yet, but I think that his only experience has got all of the attributes to be a really top centre back. So fingers crossed.
He's 21, and he's already starting for us in majority of our games. And as a centre back, that's probably one of the most difficult positions that you can try to breed yourself into as a young player.
Him. DMC is more difficult for him. Trying to be Calvin's difficult.
But playing centre back is still very difficult, and the fact that he's literally missing out on a place in the start 11 due to experience says a lot about the kid. What I mean?
It does. It does. So speaking of experience, next player up is Rodrigo, an experienced player.
I thought Rodrigo really put himself about quite a bit today.
Okay.
That first half, there wasn't any balls that he wasn't chasing down, where other games we've watched him where we've been like, Jesus, just fucking move your arse. But today it was totally the polar opposite. And it's like, is he one of them players that will then only perform against the bigger teams? Because he didn't really do it against Burnley.
And that's where we needed him. You know, that's where we want that attacking lineup and that attacking impetus to carry into those games. Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe about a 5.4 for Rodrigo today, if that's what BBC said.
4.6.
I thought he was definitely better than 4.6. That's harsh, man. But
Again,
no. Half, like.
I was just about to say again, though, he was brought off quite early on because he came off for Roberts, didn't he? Was that a half time?
It was, yeah.
So he did only get a half. So next name, Firpo. Full game? Think it was full game?
I can't see him being over a 6.
It's not over a 5, mate.
Fucking hell. Jesus, I'm not one to sit here and slate players or anything like that, and I understand that players need time to develop in a new league and a new system and all that, but Jesus Christ, he'd want to get his fucking finger out now and just adapt. Just fucking adapt. Because he
didn't come from a shit side either.
No. That's the thing. He came from Barcelona.
He'll be used to playing against, he'll be used to playing against wingers that are fast and tricky because he played in Spain. You know, they're not without their own capable players in Spain. And you know, he would have been training with Messi. Yeah. And it was almost, for me, it was rabbit in headlights, didn't know what to do, turned inside out far too often, didn't make himself available in the way that Ayling, bless him, continued making himself available, even though he kept making mistakes. He never shied away from it. For me, I felt like Firpo did shy away from it, but I also was so frustrated. And I know that I mentioned it a couple of times, but just all we demand is that you try as much as you can. You know, there are players that have played for us that just haven't had the level of competency and capability that we wanted to see, but what we did see was 100% commitment. And that's what we need. We need commitment. Everything else, we want to see it, but the commitment has to be there. The desire has to be there. And I don't know if he's right for us. I really don't. And it's really early in his time with us to be writing him off. And I'm not writing him off. I have concerns that he's not the right player. He's not the player that we need.
I totally get that. Like, I 100% get that. And I just feel that he needs to step up. You've come from Barcelona with a reputation of being one of these really, really talented left backs that just didn't get his opportunity. Yeah. You've got your opportunity now. Grab it by the fucking balls or don't bother. It's as simple as that. Like, just grab it by the balls. Like, there was a few instances there today where him and Harrison were playing a bit of nice football, get to the edge of the 18-yard box, and he'd just stop. And he'd be like, keep fucking going. Yeah. Like, you played that ball to Harrison.
Get to the fucking byline.
Yeah, play that ball to Harrison. There's the space. You've basically created a triangle for yourself. Play it to Harrison. You make the rest of the triangle. He plays it back, and he'd just stop. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
And because he's stopped, Harrison can't cut inside because Firpo's in the way. So he's just trying to then beat two men on the outside, and you know, it's I felt sorry for Harrison. I did. I felt he had a tough day.
I think at the moment, I think Dallas should be left back, and
I agree. But if Glick's not fit, because I expected Glick to start today if he was 100% fit, I really did. If Glick's not fit, and I don't know. I prefer Glick and Dallas in the middle over Rodrigo. I do. I don't think he's the player in the middle we need. But I think if Glick had been 100% fit, I think he'd had COVID again, hadn't he? I think if he's 100% fit, I think he plays today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the only reason he didn't play today was that he had COVID before the international. Like, and I was like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, so if he's not right again, you can't play him. But I felt like we missed him today. I think we missed his movement. And his
I thought his movement and the way he's very underrated in the way he links up play as well. Like, because you know, like even that goal against Burnley last season where he picked the ball up in the middle of midfield and he drove forward before he had the shot. There was 4 players looking for that ball.
Yeah,
and that's his link-up play. Like, there's them 4 players. He can pick that pass or he can have that shot and score that goal. But they're the players that he will link up with, and he will find a pass out of all them 4 players. But
I'm with
you can't stick him on if he's not feeling 100%.
No. Do you know what? If you try and play a player that's not 100%, they tend to get injured, and if they don't get injured, they're just not the races. And we already had enough of that today.
Yeah.
So the next one was Llorente. Didn't even get half in. He went off injured.
Up until his injury, I thought he was absolutely dominating at the back. I think we definitely suffered when he went off. I'd probably give him about a 4.2 because he went off so early.
4.8 this one. So they are going up. So as I move on, he got a 4.8 from what? 40 minutes or something, maybe, was it?
Something like that, yeah. It was about half an hour, I think, yeah.
So there's not a lot we can say. I think he was tired. He didn't bring the ball out much, is the only thing I would say, because we've seen him do that well, and I didn't see that much from him today. But for me, he's our best centre back at the moment.
Yeah.
And I do rate him. I like him. So unfortunate, and fingers crossed he's not going to be out for a long time, because it's almost getting to a position where you start worrying about the number of injuries he's getting.
He's got hamstrings like cheese strings, man. It's absolutely shocking at the moment. Like, if we could keep him fit for any prolonged bit of time, we'd be absolute. Like, look at when we had him prolonged fitness towards the back end of last season. We went 9 games unbeaten. You know what I mean? Like 10 games unbeaten, and one of them was we beat City with 10 men, and he was in that side. And it's like, it just shows he is an absolute quality player.
Yeah, it's just getting him on the pitch, isn't it?
Just keeping him fit for long enough.
Okay, so your next one up is Harrison.
He had a very quiet game today, in my opinion. Didn't have his normal Jackie pillow foot Harrison display. I'd go with about a 6.2 or something from Harrison.
Ooh.
Not even
we
close.
Didn't have anybody above a 6.
Fuck off, the whole team. Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not. Harrison got a 4.89.
Wow. Stop looking at the BBC.
I think you're right. I think he had a quiet game. I was looking forward to the matchup there. I don't think Trent's any good in defence. He's great going forward. He's got a great cross on him, and he links up well with Salah. And from an attacking sense, that flank for Liverpool is strong. I don't think he can defend, and we didn't do anything to and not only that, but he had Matip playing inside him, who's so slow. It reminds me of watching Sean Gregan try to turn. And we did nothing at all to try and take advantage of that. So that was a disappointment today. But 4.89 for Harrison. James is next up, above Harrison in ratings.
Really?
This surprises me, because I didn't feel like he got in the game. I don't think he did anything wrong. Just don't. There were a couple of times when he came back inside, picked a couple of passes and so on. I don't think he did much to say that he'd been in the game to end up above some of those players that we've already mentioned.
Yeah, like, again, it goes back to the point I made earlier about when Meslier would have the ball and he was gone.
Yeah,
but he wasn't given that opportunity to do what we know he can do.
Yeah, that's why we brought him in. That break.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it's just a case that Meslier needs to get used to having someone like that can go and he's gone.
Yeah,
and that's it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like that'll come in time. But I don't think he did anything terrible today by any means at all. He came on at 2-0 down, and he tried to do what he could do to change the game, but he wasn't given the opportunities from the quick breaks that we know he can absolutely demolish teams with. Like, we've seen it, man. We've watched enough YouTube clips of him now at this stage, like every other player that we're meant to sign or whatever.
Yeah.
But we know what he can do, and he did it against us at Old Trafford. When he was with the Scum, he did it there. I was like, well, if a PE teacher can understand what the fuck he needs to get out of him, then surely Bielsa knows what we need to do to get out of him.
We know that none of what's going on over there is down to him. It's just they just assemble a very expensive squad, and they know how to pass a ball.
Yeah.
Not to
With
do
ball,
with it.
without ball, you know. It's
With
like,
ball, without ball. So next up is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of the 14 players that played today, what surprises me probably most out of any of this is Ayling is ranked 6th. I thought he was our worst performer today.
I didn't think he was up to what he's usually done.
Yeah.
Like I know I've said on pod last year that, you know, he's getting on a bit. Like
29 over the hill,
29.
getting
He's
on a
30,
bit.
He's 30 now, like, but I expect a lot more from him now. He's set a standard for himself. It's the same as Dallas. They've set standards for themselves that we expect them to fulfill every week. And today wasn't one of them weeks where he fulfilled what we know he's capable of.
Yeah,
and I don't think
agree.
it's down to the opposition that we played either. I think it was just an off day.
Yeah. And do you know what? They're humans, not robots.
Yeah.
Bielsa said before, if football was played with robots, I'd win every game. And well, I don't know if he said that or if it's been said about him. I think he might have said it himself.
I think he might have said it in the Q&A with Sky Sports, wasn't it?
Yeah. But they're not robots, and we're in a scenario where they're going to have up days and down days because everybody does, and that's a human thing. So yeah, I love him. I think he's great, and I think he was brilliant at the boxing. With his reaction in the crowd, yeah. So yeah, I rate him. I think he's a great lad, and I think he's a good player. And yeah, he had an off day, but 5.08 does put him 6th in our side. So top 5.
Jesus.
The next one up, Stewie D.
Again, solid performance, played out of position every week, and he still puts in a cracking display. There wasn't much he could have done today, in my opinion, that would have made him in any way better than anyone else on the pitch. Because if the back, like what you tend to notice with us is that if the back end of our team, like the back four and Calvin, don't really click, then our front players don't really click.
Yeah.
And it is like it's the whole cliche, it's a team game or whatever. But if it doesn't happen quickly enough from our keeper to our back four and Calvin, then everything breaks down quite quickly. Yeah. And Stewie, like he can play anywhere. He play in fucking goal. He's like he is like our Radaby at the moment, where you could stick him in goal and he'd do an absolute serious job. But
yeah, I agree.
You can play him in any position and he will break his bollocks for the team on that day. But if things behind him aren't happening the way they're meant to happen, he'll still break his bollocks, but he's not going to have the influential impact that we know that he can have at certain points in a game. And I think that's what disappointed me today, was that he didn't have the opportunity to showcase what we know he's able to do, like the running, the tackling, everything, you know.
Yeah, we didn't give him a platform from which to succeed, you say.
That's a very good thing. Yeah, we didn't give him a platform to showcase what he's well capable of doing.
No, it's fair. It's fair. Next up, 4th in the list is Melier.
Can't fault him, really. Like, there was maybe
I think he's been harshly scored, to be honest, because first goal was offside, tapping.
Yeah.
Second goal, he couldn't have come for it, and it was at kind of knee height when it was finished. So what's the keeper going to do about that? And again, he was only about 8 yards out.
Yeah.
But
third goal, it's not a lot. Like, if your defender's in front of you aren't going to fucking clear it, then it's not your keeper's fault if it goes underneath him. Like, so I think you can't really fault him. Like,
I think he's been quite harshly judged there. I thought he came and collected the ball well at times. When we were under pressure. You're right about his distribution. If some of his distribution had been that little bit faster, which might just be him settling in,
absolutely.
It might be a difference. I mean, he's very, very closely scored with the next person up, so he's just about on a par with the person in third place. I'd feel any further he's a bit he's a bit harsh on him, but yeah. to say we've gone down 3-0 and I think the keeper played quite well says just how poorly the rest kind of is.
That's exactly it. Like if you lose 3-0 and your keeper is like your third or fourth highest rated player, it's not down to the keeper that you fucking lost. Like
you haven't done well.
That's the thing, you know what I mean? It's the players in front of the keeper that have fucked him up. Like
so I'm not going to give away the top two just yet, but I have already confirmed who the names in the top two are. So third in the list is Rafinha, which actually surprises me as well because I think he's been scored a bit higher than I would. Not in terms of number because he's at 5.3, which I think is still quite harsh on him. But the third best performer on the pitch for Leeds today, I think. He was hot and cold. He always works hard. You can see in his entire being how much he hates not being on top, not beating his man, not scoring goals, not being the heart of everything. He just loves it, and he's a winner. And he hates it when it's not going his way. But I didn't feel it did today.
I don't think he did a lot to merit being praised as much as you probably have just praised him there. I don't think he did enough. Like, he got on the ball. He didn't challenge the Liverpool midfield or backline the way we've seen him do it last season. He didn't challenge them at all. Got on the ball, tried to make a pass, didn't work out, bit of a sulk. And look, I'm not slagging him off. I'm not slagging any of the players off, but I just feel that that's the kind of game where he needs to prove why he got a Brazil call-up. Yeah. That's the kind of game where, even though Firmino wasn't playing or whatever the fucking sister shagger is or whatever he is, but I just feel...
I don't think that's Firmino.
Oh, is it Neymar? Is it? That's the sister shagger, is it? All right, okay. Either way, it doesn't fucking matter. They look alike. They bleach their hair. They do whatever. That's fine. I just don't feel...
Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, he can't be racist. He's Irish.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've lost your thread now, haven't you?
No, I haven't at all. I just don't think Firmino was able to do what he did today because I just don't think he was there or thereabouts. You know, he just didn't have that final ball. And I think that we did suffer with that. What did Morton say there?
Marston World said, I thought Meslier was in the top three today. It could have been much worse than 3-0.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with him. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We only criticised him for his distribution quite quickly. That's all we've criticised Meslier for. We've not criticised any saves that he's made. You said he dominated the box, which he did. He was good overall. It's just with having Dan James on the pitch, just get it out quicker. Just fucking do it quicker. Don't stand there.
It's a different kind of out ball, isn't it? You know that if you get the ball into Harrison Wright, he's going to control it. But you've got to do it quicker with Dan James and get it in front 100%. Of him to run onto. It's a different sort of approach.
He needs that touch to get it in front of him, and he can take on whoever he wants then. Once he gets that small touch to take it in front of someone, he's gone. And we will see that later on down the line. We just, like I said, we didn't criticise Meslier. We just feel he needs to get the ball out quicker.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot again now because I asked you before and you mentioned both of these. So I think you went Phillips initially and then maybe changed it to Bamford because of the work Bamford had put in. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you think was highest rated today? Not who do you think was the best player today?
I think Bamford probably would have been higher than Phillips, if I'm being honest, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah.
He's the England golden boy now, man. That's the thing, like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm only saying...
They both are.
Well, they both are, yeah, but I just felt Bamford's effort today was... All he was shy of was a goal for his run.
Hey, what an effort as well. What were they, 45 yards out?
Yeah. Come on, like he timed that perfect. Any other keeper, that's in. Just so happens he tried it against Eden Alisson. That was
Alisson,
it. Like.
He's a quality keeper, isn't he? So the only
even
difference in scores,
man, there's fucking. He was pinging them like a centre midfielder was pinging them all day. Like it's like How do you go up against that when your keeper is as good as your best centre mid? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, it's not Calvin.
No, I'm not saying as. I'm saying as good. I'm not saying he is better. I'm saying he's as good. But you know what I mean. Sorry.
So yeah, Bamford 5.48 and Phillips 5.7. I think we probably talked enough about them early on in the recording to go into it. I think we've already covered it, but yeah, it's one of those. It's kind of you get over it. We were down to 10 men, came away 3-0. As Marston said, could have been much worse.
To be fair, I was talking to a lad in the Peacock afterwards, and he didn't realise we were down to fucking 10 men until I told him at fucking full time. He was like, yeah, we were down to 10 men. He was like, who the fuck got sent off? I was like, for real, dude. Like, what?
I mean, to be fair, if nobody around him actually says, "Oh, Stroke's gone down the tunnel" or whatever, you could be forgiven for missing it, given that he won a red card challenge.
And given that we actually played quite well with 10 men anyway, that kind of way.
Do you know what? The one thing that we can be sure of, and I might be giving you some kudos that you either really do deserve for saying it or don't deserve, and I'm apportioning it to you instead of somebody else. But we talked about the potential of Bamford playing in a 10 with Rodrigo in front of him.
Yeah,
now, whether Rodrigo's right to do that or not, Bamford, I think, in the second half showed us that he could do that 10 role perfectly well.
I think he can, man. He's got a touch. He's got a silky touch. He's got a final ball. I said it already. Dallas played in against Leicester. Absolutely dinger of a pass.
Yeah.
Rafinha played in against Fulham. Yeah. Absolute dinger of a pass. That's a number 10 ball. Both of them passes are number 10 balls. He's got that in him. And just to rotate the two of them. Keep them both happy. Just rotate. Whoever's further forward, you do the pressing at the time. Whoever is further back, you're the 10 at the time. And then vice versa. If it's, same thing, just swap it up.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's one of those where it's a day that's you chalk it down. It's been done. We've been beaten by side. So there was a question. I don't know about it. Actually, the question was how expensive was the Leeds 11 and the Liverpool 11 to assemble, which is not the answer that I was able to give at the time. So we can go back and we could double check. But what I did just have a quick look at was the current market value associated from Transfer Market at the moment. I think it was 791 million for Liverpool and 225 million for Leeds.
Fucking hell.
So, the amount of money that they've had been able to invest in that side compared to where we've been, we want to be there. We want to be challenging. We want to be, but we're still early in the building process because of the just sheer volume of money that's made available every single time you spend another year in the Premier League and for Liverpool and others into the Champions League. The additional revenue streams you get from there, it is a big gulf, and there's still a lot of work to be done, and nobody's shying away from that. And I think when you reflect on that and you think of the shit day that we've had today, all right, it is shit, but it's what'll really come up is West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves. Those teams that are looking in Everton again in and around us. Those are the teams that we need to be toe to toe with. And then your Burnleys and your Southamptons, Newcastle actually are down there, aren't they? They're really shit. Other than Alison Maximin, your Watfords, your Norwiches, those are the teams that we need to be putting to the sword early. You go toe to toe with the Villas and the teams around you, and you know what? You come up against a so-called European Super League team. They've got all of that money. They've had all of that investment for a long period. They can all get in bin, and I can't stand any of them. But you can't deny the quality that they've got.
No, not at all. We're not going to sit here and pretend that they don't have quality, because they do have quality, and that's as simple as that. That's a fact. But like you were saying, Gilly, I think as long as we get results against the teams that we're expected to get results against, and we perform well against the teams in the top half of the table, get the odd result here and there, or get the draw, or get whatever we need to get, but just perform well, then we'll be absolutely fine. We just need to make sure that the teams that we're going to be surrounded by, we get the results we need to get.
Yeah, I'm not worried. Are you
I'm
worried?
not worried, not at all. Jeez, why would I be fucking worried? Like, I'm not worried at all. Like, we played against the Premier League champions of 2 years ago today.
Yeah.
And they didn't outshine us by any means.
They're not mugs.
They played well against. We played well against them, and they played well against us. But dodgy refereeing decisions like a handball or a red card that's not
And an offside.
And an offside. These are the small, fine margins, like, but we'll get them small margins throughout the course of the season as well. And teams will be on their podcast giving us shit like we're doing it now. Like, you know what I mean? So it's all swings and roundabouts, and I think at the end of the day, we'll be fine. We will be fine.
I think that's a good note to go out on.
Yeah.
And I need another beer anyway.
Yeah, I do as well. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Look, Gilly, thanks very much for joining me today, man. Absolute pleasure to see you for a pint after the game as well, which was all good. And we'll be back on with the Or to Know Better main pod on Tuesday, about 8:15. I'm not quite sure who's on it, but
Jay's on it for me. I remember that because I swapped for my last week, but I can't remember who else is on.
Doesn't matter if you're not on.
In fact, no, we're on the BNC, so it'll be Smarty, it'll be Luke, it'll be Jay, and it'll be Adam.
Well, there you go. Join Smarty, Jay, Luke, and Adam then, and we'll sit there and point and laugh at them just like everyone else will. So it's absolutely fine. No, honest to God, thanks for joining us today. Shame about the result, but look, we can take positives from it as well. There's plenty there that we can take from it, and as long as we perform higher than where we were last season, then I'll be happy with that.
And thank you very much to Luke and Jay just for keeping us on our toes.
Oh, just one thing before I go. I'd like to say thank you very much to the lady in the Tesla who I just randomly decided to ask if they could give me a lift home so I could be on time for the pod. She was waiting on her boyfriend and his friend, and she was very kind and said yes, she would give me a lift home. So I'm terrible at names. Lady in the black Tesla who gave me a lift home as far as Aldi. I really appreciate it. You're an absolute diamond. And to the two lads, fair play to you. That's nice. Thanks very much. We're still